Now, when you think about basketball, the legendary Harlem Globetrotters, Chicago Bulls or Miami Heat probably spring to mind, not music, poetry and dance. Well, the gravity viewing on the London stage. The Spalding Suite explores the friendships, camaraderie and aspirations of those who play basketball through a marriage of music, poetry and contemporary dance. And we'll be meeting two of the performers in a minute. But first, let's get a taste of the Spalding Suite.
When we were young, we worshipped stars. Our symbols of faith were ticks and stripes, endorsed by gleaming, long-limbed gods, framed in the act of impossible flight, plastered on our walls. For a time, we tried to follow, find the staircase, learn the trick to rise, to carve out our own piece of sky, with a butter-smooth arc of an arm and a Spalding ball glued to the fingertips. We thought we knew. Sooner or later, for each of us, gravity came calling to shackle our ankles and dreams. But for a time, we were free.
Spalding Suite includes the beatboxer MC Zani and Jason York, both of them now joining me in the studio. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
That's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And the moves are pretty good as well, because I know that both of you play basketball, but you've never played professionally, but you seemed pretty convincing the way that you were moving and catching the ball, that sort of stuff.
I think that's just years of watching basketball and TV and practicing what I've seen, really.
But I mean, for both of you, I mean, what do you think makes it makes basketball such an attractive subject for this type of production?
I guess it's because it's so athletic, and it's just such. It's a visual thing. It's a visual aspect, and the movement is just so powerful, and it makes you want to see it. So
yeah,
that's
I mean, you don't really associate the moves of basketball with dance or poetry.
Well, yeah. Our ball is literally dance, so when you kind of look at it in that way, you kind of see how it lends itself to dance, and especially physical theatre, contemporary dance.
So it's a fair point. And the show's title, Spalding. Now, I don't know anything about basketball, but I understand that Spalding is a US basketball manufacturer, so presumably that was the inspiration.
Yeah.
OK, then. Now, we think of basketball as a very American game, and yet it's also played a lot in this country. I mean, has it been an easy transfer at all?
It's kind of more of a subculture over here. I mean, football and other sports kind of take centre stage, where basketball kind of takes a back seat. But there is definitely a big culture over here. More, maybe, I would really say street ball, maybe. Street ball, but not such as a big stage as, say, football is, or cricket even.
I mean, the show is a celebration as well of how it holds people together, how it reaches out. But how do you think it does that, the actual sport?
I guess because everyone can find an escapism through sport. And I guess using basketball, that's how everyone is brought together through their own backgrounds and their own struggles, so that was used well.
But when you actually watch teams playing together, they've got this phenomenal bond. Do you find from your own observations, and when you guys played it as well, that the friendship, that bond continued away from the court?
Yeah, for most part, I mean, basketball's such a fast-thinking game, and you've got to rely just not on yourself but your teammates. So that bond kind of does continue afterwards.
So is there this sense that everybody in that team knows how the other thinks, so that you can be preemptive when you're trying to read your opponent?
That's the aim anyway.
But I mean, it is a very physical show. We had a sense of that from that clip. How is everything combined? Because I can imagine it must have been very difficult to the poetry and the music.
Yeah, it definitely was a challenge, and I guess that's credit to Benji, because watching him work and being able to work with him and how he kind of slots everything together fit with basketball and then with the music. So just seeing him slot everything together, it's like a puzzle or playing Tetris. So he would think, and okay, we've got a movement here. okay, now then he'll think and we'll try, it's all trial and error, and we'll kind of work together, then this works, no, this doesn't work. So.
Sure. I mean, you're a beatboxer champion, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, what is beatboxing, and how are you able to incorporate that into this production?
Well, for everyone that doesn't know, beatboxing is all music that comes from the mouth, so vocal percussion, and I make the drum noises and all the sound effects.
Do you actually make the sound effects yourself?
Yeah. So
wow.
In relation to this theatre piece, all the bouncing of the basketballs and all this movement, all the sound effects is all created by me. So.
Could you give us a blast of that now? Don't be shy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a sound. One of the sounds I do is like a siren sound, like or all the sound, all the movements. So yeah.
All right, you make it look very easy, but it's anything but. I mean, you've obviously had to practice hard to do that.
Yeah, it's like any other instrument.
except it's in the throat. Like, it's pretty impressive. I mean, but did it challenge you as well? Did it challenge either of you as a performer? Because you're basically a one-man orchestra. You've got to move to him.
Well, in a way, we've got the easy job. Like, we have to make the movement, then he's got to catch us with the sound.
Yeah.
And hold you, and not stay breathless either.
Yeah.
I guess it keeps it spontaneous as well, because every show is different.
Yeah.
Because a movement that he'll do will never be the same. So, well, there are specific things that are the same, but there are times when there's different things. So I have to keep on my toes. I'm like, okay, he's changed. I've got to really react and keep in time and concentrate all the time.
So there's a lot of improvisation as well. So even though you've got a framework in which to operate, you do have the freedom to move within that.
Yeah, I mean, it's working together is kind of, if I'm, say, going to do a move, it's kind of giving him enough time to know, right, I'm going to move this way. So the preparation and the movements, and then he can catch on to the movement and add the sound to it.
I mean, look, it sounds quite mind-blowing from my perspective, but I mean, it must have taken ages to prepare this, to rehearse it, so that, OK, you've got the fixed moves, but that synergy you were talking about earlier, to know when he's going to go one way, and you've got to follow him, and then you set the pace. I mean, how long did it take you guys to prepare for this?
Well, I got on board a few months ago.
Yeah.
A few months ago?
Yeah, that was the first rehearsal a few months ago. And I literally came to the first rehearsal and the script was there. It's like, okay, we've got a script, now we've got to make a show. So I was like, okay, how's this going to happen? But Jason, yeah, we were involved in the R&D before.
Yeah, right. And so, I mean, first day we went in, it was like, we had the script, we had some music, we had some poetry, and we had a beatbox. It was like, how's this all going to work together? But I think by the end of the first week, we was working really hard, and we kind of see how it all can link and then connect.
But I mean, it must have been pretty intimidating, that very first reading, because as you said, how on earth does this all work together? It's like, isn't this a bit too ambitious?
Yeah, it definitely was a challenge, but I like challenges.
Yeah.
So.
Is it the most challenging project that either of you have done to date?
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me, working with poetry rather than straightforward text. So that's a bit different. When you get a script, usually just a normal text, you can say, all right, that's what I'm talking about here, this is what we're talking about. But with poetry, it's kind of, you have to draw it out more. So it's like, okay, what is the poet actually talking about here? And then how can I then act that and perform it, and not so much look like a spoken word artist, but look like a ball or whatever it may be.
It sounds phenomenal, especially given the demonstration that you've just given us as well, the beatboxing. When is this happening and where, so that just in case our viewers want to go along, they'll know where to head?
Well, at the moment we're at the South Bank Centre. We was opened yesterday. We went there till Saturday.
You're there till Saturday, and does the show move on?
Yes, we on touring all through May. We're going on to Brighton next. We've got Bournemouth, Birmingham, Ipswich, Stockton, Liverpool. Right,
so this is going to be quite exhausting, because you're actually doing the baseball moves, and you've got to make sure that your throat doesn't give because of everything that you're doing.
Honey ginger lemon.
Honey and ginger lemon. OK, guys, we wish you the very best of luck. Thank you so much for coming in here. I'm sure the show will do very, very well.